My name is James Byrne. I run Any Other City Records here in Dublin. I set it up in 2007. I'd been meaning to set it up for years and finally did it then. It's been running since then. I'm about to release my 13th release, and yeah, covering many different genres. I'll do it bands. I'd never put anything out I didn't really like. I'd have to really like something to put it out, because it's all my own money, it's all my own time. I can't half like a band to work with them, first of all, and also want to release their music and stand behind it. I'm lucky that the 13 things I've put out, I've really loved everything I've put out, every band I've worked with. Some it's only been for a single, like a band like Squarehead was just for one single. I loved the songs, they were really nice fellas, did it, and it was just that, and I was happy enough that I went off and did stuff with other people. I was happy for that moment. I kind of caught what I wanted, and it sounded great. Other bands I worked with for a much longer time, a band like New Amusement, were from the very start of the label, for 3 years working with them. They were just great guys in a band I really liked and saw them develop, and it was really exciting. So there's that side of it as well. It can change, and if I can just find a band that I just think are brilliant, and hopefully if I do my job properly, that they're happy to keep doing it, and it's win-win, I guess. But there's never been a point where I've wanted to really put out a band but I didn't get on with them, or vice versa. They were lovely guys but the music was crap. There has to be both together. That's really important. Only if I'm asked to by the band. Only if I think, if there's something glaring obvious, I'll say it to them. I'll just give you my suggestions. That's kind of why, I guess, why they want me around sometimes, if I can be objective about it. It's very insular if you're in a band writing, and sometimes you need an outside voice saying, well actually I think this is really good, and if they like your opinion, grand. But I'd never say to a band, that chorus should be longer, or do this or do that, unless they asked me. But the whole point is that it's me working with artists. That's the fun part, seeing how they develop, making missteps, making wrong turns, but still coming around. That's exciting to me. It's maybe it's not as commercially sensible, but I'm not kind of concerned with that. It's more to see how a band develops and helping them if they suddenly want to make, if it's a loud band that wants to suddenly a really quiet song, or vice versa, or a poppy band that suddenly wants to do an instrumental song. If I think if it's what they really believe, then that's what I'm investing in. So it would never be a case of me sitting them down and say, guys, you're missing out on this, that song is not good, or they have to bands have to learn that themselves. Otherwise there's no real point. Then it's me working with myself basically. We can meet somewhere in the middle, and then it's just really covering costs, and then any money that's made after that, splitting it 50-50. It's like a real rough trade way of doing it. You cover costs and you split the profits. So it's worked so far up to now. It's probably part of the reason why I've not made any money, but if I can cover my costs, that's a success. Other labels work differently, obviously. They pay for everything, and then the band gets a tiny percentage, and then the label keeps all the money. But there's no point in doing that. There's no millions to be made, and I don't think any band that I'd work with would want to do that anyway. I wouldn't want to do it if I was in a band. That's a lot of the way I run the label. I frame in that way. Would I do this? I've been in bands for years, and I'm always paranoid about labels and stuff. So would I do that? Would that be something I'd be into doing? And if so, then I'll take it to a band. If not, then why take it to the band? If I wouldn't do it, they wouldn't do it.
Cool.
And I'm pretty tough.
Is this attitude unique for, or like how does any sort of different? Different?
I'm sure there's other labels that work the same way. The ones that run better as a business don't work that way, because it's not very business minded. But that's the thing. Part of the reason I do it is obviously because I really enjoy doing it. It's never been something where I thought, well, I'll build this and make tons of money off it, because it's not going to happen. I'm interested on the other side of it, the artistic side of it, and if it cannot cost me tens of thousands of euro, then it's worth doing. I wouldn't just spend money wildly and then be in debt for the sake of just a bit of crack. There has to be a balance, but it's always weighted towards the artistic side. I never go into it thinking, right, if I do this and this, I'll make this amount of money, because the first release, any money I make will pay for the second release, pay for the third. So that's how it's been rolling. Any money I get in from a release I might have put out 2 years ago goes into my next release. So there's never money taken out. It's just usually money going in. But there's other bigger labels can't run like that. You staff, if the label's trying to build a catalogue, it can't. It's not sensible really. Anyone I talk to in bigger labels say you're insane what you're doing. You're just throwing money away. But they can appreciate the work. All the records I put out have been great, so that to me is a success. That's the successful part of it, I think. Anyway, helping bands and being involved in some way, I get enough out of that to not demand huge figures. The first release I put out, the New Amusement EP, that was a big deal because it's something I'd wanted to do for years. I met them, they liked me, we got on, we made these decisions, we did this step by step, and finally had a record, it came out, people really liked it. That was, to me, was like brilliant. I showed I could do this. This wasn't just me being silly. And once that was done, I was eager to do the next thing. And so when the Villagers stuff came out, and that did really well. That was exciting, but it wasn't any more exciting than something I might have put out that sold half as much. The excitement comes from the process of getting it done, working with the bands, getting stuff pressed, dealing with artwork, all that. It's a lot of work, but it's exciting. So the fact that I'm now about to do the 13th release, and I've already got plans for ones I want to do next year, and bands I want to work with, and other records I want to put out, and it's always swirling around my head. But the highlight is always the next thing. It has to be. If I kind of rested on my laurels and thought, well, that James McMara 7-inch did really well and that was great, but everything, and then you kind of lose interest. But yeah, no, that's the kind of the driving force behind it, is that kind of attitude, that excitement, really. As much as painful as some days can be when you get bad phone calls giving you bad news, you try and fix it and you try and think your way out of a problem, and that's a challenge in itself, and there's a reward in that as well. But it's the highlight is from the label side is releasing stuff like that, and then from a personal side, if you meet bands and making friends with bands, and like New Amusement, I'm mates with those guys and they're lovely guys. Other people I might meet on the road along with the label, that's always like the personal relationships. That's as worthy as having 10 grand in the bank. I mean, I'd much rather have that than 10 grand in the bank. I say that now, but you know what I mean. It's like, if people respect the label, people see the amount of work I put in and the quality control I always try and have, and they're always like, oh, that was cool, then chances are they might want to, if the reputation builds, they might want to do stuff with me, which is great. That means a lot, the reputation of the label, because that's all that's the only kind of worth it really has. You know, if I'm seen to be doing a good job, and it's like a good tastemaker label, and James has good taste and he works with these good bands, it's good. Maybe it's good for the bands. If bands think, well, if James likes us, we must be good. You know, and vice versa. If a band comes to me and says, oh, we like the label, I think, well, my label must be good. And that's great. That it's 4 or 5 years of work, but if that's what I've got now at the moment going forward, that's a success.
What's your main ambition then? What's the future for it?
Just to keep doing it. That's the thing. The ambition is always just to take another release. I mean, I didn't think I'd ever get to 5, and now I got to 10. Now I want 30, and I want to get to 20. I want to find a band that are great and help them, and then if they do well, even if they go on and do other things, like, well, I had played some part in that, and just helping in that kind of, not to be like some kind of patron of the arts, but something like that, but also being able to say, well, I like this, I think this is great, everyone have a listen to this, and people appreciating that, and then feeling a worth from that as well. Cool. So that's kind of the goal. I mean, if it ever get to the stage where I could make a living off it, that'd be amazing, but I don't think it ever will. I mean, 5 years ago, when I thought that there was a chance, the industry was way different, but now it's not. It's sales are down, you know yourself, it's kind of collapsing in, but I feel like the label's small enough and I'm quick enough on my feet that I can kind of roll with that, and I don't have lots of staff, I don't have lots of issues, it's just me, so I'm kind of my own master, so it means I can do interesting small releases for the sake of doing it, because I don't always have to sell 1,000 records for it to be sensible. Well, if someone's thinking about getting into a record label or wanting to work either within a big label or just start their own label, do your research and know your history. That's really kind of key. I obsessed with labels since I was younger, so I would have read all the books of all the label histories, known all of the people that ran them, been inspired by a bunch of these labels. Some tiny label in Dublin no one's ever heard of that really inspired me, and then big independent labels. Know all about that and the mistakes they all made, and that's advice, it's free advice, read those books. Make sure you want to do and understand that it's not, you're never going to make money, there has to be another goal behind it. Like the majority of the labels, I think like 90% of labels only ever put out one release. They start, they put it out, and then they're like, oh, I have so much else, I'm not doing that again. And if you haven't got that fire in you, you won't do it again. And it isn't fun a lot of the time, but the process needs to be the enjoyable part. If you're just waiting for the end product, and if it doesn't sell well or it gets bad reviews, and you get demoralised by that, that's going to stop you. Whereas if you're working along and enjoying the work along, then do it. If you're wanting to work in a big label, you have to start. You have to show you're proactive. So, I mean, I've done everything. I've run club nights, I've booked shows, I've managed bands, I've been in bands, set up a label, did a radio show, did everything you could possibly think of music related. Enjoy it. It has to be fun. And if it's not, if the idea of dealing with pressing plants, dealing with art directors, and dealing with delivery in shops and all that kind of stuff, dealing with bands, if that doesn't appeal to you, if that doesn't sound like fun, then you're not going to do it. Don't do it.